Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Shannon. If you're new here, welcome. If not, I enjoy sewing and I like to sew a lot. So I have been doing costumes for plays for a couple years, and I decided to start this channel to share what I sew. Well, now the play's over with. What else do I sew? Well, I am starting another play. My daughter and I are both in a melodrama coming up, and I will share those costumes. But for right now, we haven't gotten far into the play yet for me to really make costumes, or have I gone and bought fabric. But I do want to make me a new summer dress. And I haven't bought me or made me a new summer dress in years. And I was at an event a couple weeks ago, and I noticed that I am way out of date when it comes to my clothes to wear to church or to nicer activities. I'm way out of style, and I see all these really cute dresses with the gathering around the waist and the ruffles at the bottom and the sleeves, and I thought, those are easy dresses to make. I could make me one of those. So I went and looked for fabric, and where I live I don't have a lot of choices of where to go on fabric. I haven't gotten really good at ordering online yet. I am working on it. I'm going to try to work on it. But I was looking and I saw this sheet set. It's a twin size sheet set, but when you think about how much fabric is in sheets, that's a lot. And I only spent $20 on this set, so I thought that's a bargain. So I'm gonna make, I really liked this pattern, and it's wrinkle free, it should wash really nicely. So I decided to buy this fabric, and let's look through my stash of patterns to see if I can find anything I like. I want to make two dresses. I bought two different sheet sets, so I'll get that one out and do another video on that later. So I pulled out all my patterns, and I don't have a pattern for a dress, but really these dresses are simple. It should be really simple. I did come close on a couple things, like this pattern, which is a New Look 6069. If you look at it, it's close with this dress. Long, gathered at the waist, gathered around the collar. Kind of the look I want, but this pattern is not even my size. This is size 4 through 16. Little small. Then I started looking at some other patterns I had, and I do have this pattern, which is a shirt pattern. It is Simplicity E1997. So simple. I don't have the instructions for this. I don't know where the instructions went. I do have all the pattern pieces, but no instructions, which is kind of funny. Don't know where those went. And I have made this. I made a Renaissance costume for me, which I completely made it last minute, so I didn't get it filmed. And I used this pattern for the underdress. I might even have pictures of that I could show, which I like, but the sleeve's not right. It's a little thick. It's a little see-through. Not quite what I wanted, but I do like this. So I'm tempted to use this and just add layers. So I really am thinking I'm just going to use this. And I like the sleeves. If you look, it's the exact same sleeves I'm wearing right now. Though I would like to go just a little bit longer and then the ruffle. And then I want elastic around the waist, which I think this pattern here will help me find putting that elastic or drawstring around the waist. I don't want a drawstring, I want elastic. So that's my thoughts. So I think I'm going to pull out these two patterns and see what I can get with these two. Make some decisions. I am definitely going to use this pattern top, but I'm going to check and make sure I have the right width that I like in this for the skirt and for the bottom of it before I put the ruffles. So I have a dress here of mine that I wear. I like its width of how wide it is. And it goes all the way down to the floor on me. But I don't want that for this one. I'm going to put a pretty wide ruffle in it, I think. But I'm going to measure this to have the right width of how wide I want the main skirt to be. Okay, so I know from this skirt I need to get the length and the width. And maybe the tier, like how wide I want the tier. So, from the waist mark on this, which is funny that this dress had an elastic in it, and I took it out because I didn't want the elastic, but I'm going to put an elastic around the waist for this one, so I think that's kind of funny. So this one is roughly 37.5 inches long. Width up around the hips is 52 inches. And then down around the bottom is about 66 inches. And then I think I want it here. Let me say about 16 inches. So I can take 16 inches off that top and then turn around and add the 16 inches with the tier. So there. So here's my pattern pieces laid out for the center front and the center back. And right down here with the bottom of it, is not quite the same width. It's a little bit smaller. So this would be 28, and I want roughly 52. So that's the top of the red skirt. And okay, so decision made. I'm going to use the shirt pattern. I'm going to add 2 inches here at the fold line, because with it being elastic, nope, I don't want to add it at the fold line, because I don't want it to be too wide here for all the elastic to gather in on. I'd rather add it. I'm going to do both. I'm going to add it here, even though I'm adding where the elastic is. I just don't want it to be too wide. I don't like wide here. I want to still bring it in fairly narrow. But then I'll add the hip area to make it bigger here to fit me. And then I'm going to make it the length I want it to be for the dress up until the tier. And then I'll figure all that math out. My sheets, I took all the elastic out. I was hoping to reuse it, but I couldn't. And took the little pleat out. So this is going to be probably my tier fabric. And then here's the top sheet, and I unpicked all of that because that gives me 2 inches everywhere where it was folded in. So I'm going to iron all that out and lay the fabric out laid down the piece of fabric, or pattern piece, on the 40 inches long, and I added an inch. This is the center front. So I added an inch here at the front, which will be 2 inches. And then I added an inch at each side, which will be 2 inches. So that gives me 4 inches in the front, and then it'll probably be 4 inches in the back. But where it's all going to be gathered, it's just going to all be ruched, which I really like the ruching thing. So that's pretty easy. We're just going to cut that out. And I'm hoping, I wanted to get this dress done today, but my husband has now called me 3 times, needing me to go help him. Today was the last day of school, and the kids have wanted to be running around and doing stuff. So don't forget your notches. And I'm one that notches out, not in. And a dress like this should only take a couple hours to make, for me at least. But it's been taking a lot longer. By the time I sat down, it took me an hour to unpick all the seams, which, now looking back at it, probably could have not bothered with that, because there's plenty of fabric here. I was worried, being a twin sheet, that it wouldn't be enough fabric to do what I want to do, but I don't have a lot of extra fabric. Okay. Now, I wasn't going to do this now, but since I have the fabric here, and it's ripped at 40 inches, one 20-inch piece would be one time. So if I did two 20-inch pieces, that would be double the width of what I already have the skirt. So that would be the perfect ruffle piece. Is if I rip this at 20 inches or right in half. So let's just do it right in half. And that means I have everything cut out just in time for my husband to show up, who needs me to help him move the equipment around the farm. So, hi everybody. It's day 2 for my making me a summer dress. And I decided I want pockets in it. I can't find my pocket cup. This dress here, for those of you who are wondering. I can't find my pocket cup. So I decided I'm just going to make me a new one. It's not really that difficult. I need a pen. So I'll get you, and so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so first off, you need to make, my fan's going because it's hot in here, so I don't want to. You want to make a straight line. I probably have way too much paper here. And then with your pocket, how do I explain pocket? It has a spot most pocket patterns are pretty simple. You have to have the 5/8 of an inch to attach it to the seam. And after that, you need to be straight across on the top. I take my hand and I put it where I kind of want it to be. And I'm just going to draw some lines around my hand. I'll take the curve of my ruler here. I'm just going to draw that curve. And it's roughly something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to be able to put your hand in it, and you need 4 of them. And you need it to go onto the side seam of whatever you're doing. So as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. There's just a lot of extra paper here. This doesn't look like my last one 100%, but it's still roughly the same intent. It needs to have a round curve. Everybody kind of makes their pockets their own way. So here it is. So it's got, this is where it's sewn onto the side seam, and it has a little dip so you can put things in it. And you can sew up this part as much as you want. and have it be a deeper pocket. This just has to have your hand fit into it. So you can just put your hand down here, like this, and mark that to get your hand in it, you can't sew above this little spot. And then that, you can even cut that out if you want. And make that be your indent. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look like every other buttock pocket. It just has to be rounded, and it can actually even be square. It doesn't need to be rounded. It just needs to be able to put your hand in it and hold what you want. So I'm going to cut these out of the fabric. So the only fabric I have left is, of course, the fitted sheet. And I have a fan on, so everything's going to blow away. So on my fitted sheet, I had these corners that were all the corners that the elastic went around for the corners of your sheet. So those make a great place to take these pockets out of, because they're extra right there. It's kind of in the way from making anything square of anything I'm going to make out of it. And I need 4 of them. So I'm just going to take this little square with the fabric with one time sewing to, because truthfully it would be easy just to cut that straight. That's how you opened up the fitted sheet to get and where it's the pocket. Doesn't matter if it's in green or not. So you can take it out of that little triangle and get enough pieces of it. So you gotta cut 4. I usually don't worry about pockets, but for some reason I just decided I want pockets in case I decide to wear this somewhere that I don't want to carry my purse with me. I know carrying purses is kind of outdated, but you still need someplace to stick your phone and maybe even your car keys. So, I said yesterday, let's figure out how long it will take me to sew this up. So we know it took me roughly about 20 minutes to cut it out after I spent forever taking out the seams of the top of the top sheet, which did help me in the end. I was thankful that I had that 3 inches, so I used all of that. It is 3 o'clock. Let's see how long it takes me to sew this dress up. I'm trying to think of what the first step should be, because I don't have a pattern for this. Okay, sleeves, front and back. So, first things first is we're going to add the sleeves, because this is a raglan type sleeve, which just means it only has the seam on the 2 sides, and then this is all gathered into one thing, which calls it the raglan sleeve. Kind of like your sweatshirt material would be a raglan, or sweatshirts are usually raglan sleeves. thinking of what else. There's your wrap-in sleeves. This is the back. Back. You can open it up. It's weird that I can't find the packaging for this pattern to put all the pattern pieces back in. It's gotta be around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. My phone studies me today. I am one that folds my patterns back up to put them back in. Nice and neat, yes. Okay, so this is the back. The sleeve. Has a front and a back. So we have the back pieces right sides together. They're going to go together. There again, find the back piece with the bigger notch. People are probably thinking the notches are crazy. So I put white thread on my sewing machine to sew this with. Now we're going to take our back, our front, that was our back, so this is our front. Right sides together. Now it's the right side of the sleeve. So you're sewing up this line, and it's just from the center to the here. That's the line you're sewing. And I'm notching up at the top here. So I gave myself some room, extra room here. I don't need that in my sleeve, so I'll probably just, when it comes to sewing up that side seam, I stitched up those seams, I pressed them, and I serged them. Now, I'm marking pinning these two sides, two under the arm seams together. I want to mark where my elastic is going to be. So I thought I had them marked, but I don't, because they're not in the right spot. Because they don't match. So I'm going to take my ruler, cross out what I did earlier. Okay, so if I put it right at the same spot as the one on the other side, and mark it. Just taking a ruler with the top and the straight line. You're too high, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, remove you. Okay, chalk your There's a line on that side. I'm just trying to follow it on this side, getting the same spot, hopefully. It's not. Okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, so next we got to add our pockets. And you know this line that I just drew is roughly going to be the waistline. So I don't want my pockets way up here. So I want them to come down. Good resting spot is, for me, is right here. So I'm going to take that waist, put my hand right where I want my pocket to be. And that's 8 inches from that line. So I'm going to go down 8 inches, mark it. On both sides. And then that's where I'm going to pin my pocket. I don't know how I remember that's where I put that cutting piece, but okay. Top of pocket, bottom of pocket. With the right sides together, and pin the top piece right to where that notch or that marking was that you just marked. Okay, so now we're going to sew up the side seams. So we have them already pinned at the arm. So now we're going to pin at the pockets. So you're going to pin at the side seams. Just mark them as, laying them together and pinning under. Then pin the bottom. You want to make sure your seams for where you've marked your elastic to go together. And then you're going to mark the end of your sleeves together. And it's one straight line all the way down. When you hit the pockets, you sew to here, up around the pocket, sew where the pocket's connected here, and then down. And then you'll press. Pockets are kind of hard to press, not necessary to press, but you'll do some snips around the pocket so the seams will lie flat. Press them open, press them closed, and then serge down and around the pocket. So the other side, there again, we're going to find our pocket pieces, match them at the seams, stick a pin there, go to the bottom of the pocket, mark those together. And now my bottoms don't meet, but that's probably because of the way I was measuring to try to get those, that one length. It's all right. I'll just cut it off before I add the ruffle. It's no big deal. Is hot today. It's only 78 degrees, but the humidity is to die for. It is sweltering. I turned my fan off because I went back and watched the footage I just did to see where I ended at, and I could hear my fan, and it was such nasty noise that I had. So I have the side seams now sewed up. One of my pockets didn't lay flat. I'm not sure why. It kind of puckered and did something funny, but that's all right. Make sure you snip under the arm side, otherwise it'll feel too tight. And I don't know how manufacturers get away with ready-made not doing that. They must be just really big, but these you definitely have to do that. Okay, so next, oh, I also serged the bottom of the skirt of this part where the ruffle's gonna go, only because I'm gonna top stitch the ruffle on, not stitch it together, and so that'll make a difference. Okay, now the elastic part for putting in the elastic around here. Most of the time it says just to turn it over and have it be like turn it twice, but turning it twice always, to me, makes it really bulky. I find turning it once is the best, but then you have the funny edge. So I bought bias tape. It's just a single fold bias tape, and I'm gonna sew it to the right sides, just in that little tiny seam that it has. Sew it down and then use that to then turn over, stitch down, and put the elastic in through that. Each one of these is 4 yards, so I'm hoping it's enough to go around all the way to the top and around the waist. If it's not, I have other bias tape in the house that I can use for around the waist. Oh, and I'm going to start in the back, center back, so then I can leave that open end to put the elastic in. So I'm going to start at the center back and just go around, and then that'll show you where your center back is, and you don't have to put a tag. You'll just say, oh, that's the part where the 2 pieces of bias tape meet. So Okay, so let me see if I can back you up so you can see this. I sewed it on and I pressed it down, so then I can just turn it so it'll lay flat and sew it right down on the very edge of that. And there you go. There you can see. So there's the elastic. So I need to make sure I sew way down on the edge so this elastic will just slide in. Oh, elastic whenever. Okay, now it's time to sew the elastic, or not the elastic, the bias tape to this line that I marked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the bias tape, rest it right along the line that I marked, and then sew right there in the groove. And then I'll move this over and sew it right down there. But since I need to see, I'm not going to have you watch that. But I'm going to just tell you again, I'm going to sew it right against the line that I drew. I'm going to sew in this line, and then I'm going to fold it over and sew right down like I did just then. And I'll show it to you when I'm done. Okay, so we got all the bias tape on. We have it on the top, which I have to say, putting the bias tape makes that lay down so much better than trying to do a two-turn, or because otherwise you have a raw edge, and serging, you leave all that thread, so you really feel like you have to do double turn to not have that raw edge. And using the bias tape, I'm telling you, is the way to go. Then I put bias tape around the waist. So now I just need to find the end of the elastic. I opened the roller and the whole thing just kind of fell apart. So I want to go around. Oh, come on. Around my waist comfortably. I don't want it super tight. I mean, it's going to bring in the fabric anyways. I have such a tiny weird waist. And then I'm going to try to kind of guesstimate what I need around the neckline. Gonna guesstimate that. And then that should, okay, so also my bobkin was not going to go through that, which I love to thread elastic with the bobkin because it's just a little bit more to grab onto. So I have this little tiny safety pin, which is going to just take it a little bit longer to get through, but it'll work. So I'm now going to run the elastic all the way through the waistband and through the neck and then I will go try it on inside out, and I'll let you see that, and tighten the elastic around the neck to where I want it. And then if I feel like I need to tighten it around the waistband, I can. So I'll see you back when I try it on. Sorry, we're in my bathroom. It's the only mirror that I can get to without a big table in front of me. So elastic could be pulled a little tighter at the waist. I don't know if I want it pulled much tighter. Maybe I want it pulled a little bit tighter, because once the ruffle gets on, it might pull too much. So I'll pull that a little tighter, but the neck is perfect. I did pull, I don't know if you can see I can't do it. Can you see the tag? I don't think you can. Anyways, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull this a little tighter. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this a little tighter. Okay, so this is what I was trying to show you in the mirror, that this is how much elastic I'm gonna end up taking off that piece that I cut. But that's good enough for something, so I'm not going to I'm gonna wait to cut it up until I sew it. I'm not gonna throw that away. That's good enough for something. Maybe down the road I'll want a dress with elastic around the wrist or something like that. Okay, where did the end of this go? So I decided I did want to take some in here at the waist. Just don't really know how much I want to take in. I feel like I don't want to take a lot in, but yet I feel like I want to take a lot in. So I cut about that much off of it, and I will pin that and sew it. And where I used the, that's what I'm trying to think of. Since I used the bias tape, I don't need to sew down that, am I trying to say? I don't need to sew down the bias tape again. So all I have to do is sew the elastic and it'll flatten through and I will be fine. I got the ruffles serged on both sides. Now the way I want to put these ruffles on the skirt and the sleeves is I want to top stitch them. So it kind of gives a decorative little ruffle on top. So, but because of that, I need to hem both sides of the ruffles before I can gather them. And I will gather them with a gathering foot because it'll make it so much easier. And so therefore I'm going to use white thread again. I'm going to end up using all my white thread. I need to buy like a huge bundle of white thread. But I went ahead and serged the edges. Not that I needed to because I was doing a rolled hem, but because it'll help me make a tighter rolled hem, a smaller one than I could just fold on my own, because I can just use that serging stitch as a hard stitch to help me get a nice rolled hem, tiny rolled hem. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll bring you over to my sewing machine so you can watch me how I do a rolled hem and how I use my gathering foot. So as soon as I roll it and hem it, I will go ahead and just change my feet on my sewing machine and put my gathering foot on and go ahead and I said buttonhole foot. This is a gathering foot. Has a little thing. So it mine, you have to take your shank off. I mean, it's a shank thing, so it's not as easy to pop off as it is most other feet that came with my machine. This one I did have to buy, and I bought it through Amazon. It was about $8. The hardest part is getting this screw back on. Then you rise it up. And then I put it through as if I'm, pulling out the bobbin again, the bobbin thread again, just so it's underneath. I'm going to show you on the pieces for the sleeve because it'll be easier to see how it starts and finishes because it's not as long. So I'm going to start and have this edge right along the seam of my rolled hem. Okay, you got to do three things. First, you got to change your tension to be tight. Second, you need to make your machine stitch fairly big. And then you're going to hold on to these. Now this isn't really thin material, so it's not going to be super gathered, but it is going to start to gather as you go. Okay. It's not working. That means it's probably too thick of a fabric, so I'm going to have to do a couple other things. I hate when that happens. Too many threads there. So I'm going to do my other piece because I'll have to rip that out. Okay, let's make it even tighter or looser. Let's start looser. Smaller stitches. Still not working. Okay, there it goes. If you can see back here, it's starting to gather. I need to move it to as long as I could. And I'm going to go shorter stitches. And that'll make it gather. It's not gathering a lot, just a little. If you want it tighter, you're going to have to... See, that's as much as it gathered it. It's not a really tight gather. Now you can take these threads over here and pull them and make them tighter. You're going to pull on the top one. This is my top thread, and I can make it just a little bit tighter. But that is way easier than any other way gathering. Oh, so we're not in the picture. So I'm taking the thread that was the top thread, and you can just pull it and make it tighter and get it as tight as you want it to be. Okay, I'm going to do all the rest. Okay, so here I am, right side of the sleeve, wrong side of the ruffle, and I gathered it, and now I'm just pinning. Sorry, don't mean to make you shake. Oh my goodness. Pinning it to the sleeve. And I'm going to top stitch this. There's a safety pin in my pens that keeps getting in my way. I'm going to try to top stitch it like probably right between the two seams, and then I'll remove this gathered seam. So like, I know there's part of me that wants to just sew it right in the same seam that I already have, but I don't know if that'll be enough of a ruffle effect. So I'm thinking I need to sew it down just a little bit more. But I want to make sure I'm covering the serging on the other side. And I'm kind of just like maneuvering the gathers to be where I want them to be. So that's one sleeve. Let's do the other sleeve. So it didn't happen. It's the next day. I wasn't able to get my dress done in one day. I came close, so close. It didn't work to use the gathering foot on this fabric. It's too thick, and so I had to go and do the gathering stitches and gather it by hand. So therefore, I didn't get finished, but I got pretty close because if you look, I have the ruffle on and it is pinned on. So all I have to do is to stitch right there where I have it pinned, and then I am done. So I don't know if I will take the gathering stitches out of the bottom. It might be a little difficult. I will wait upon that at the end of the day and see if I think it is necessary. So basically, I just have that stitch to seam up, and I will put the dress on, try it on, and show it to you. I was hoping to take pictures outside, but it is raining today. Woohoo! Rain, rain. We love rain. So I will go ahead and put it on, and you'll get pictures of me somewhere in my house. So I'll be back. I don't know if they'll hear me from here, but this is it. This is the finished product. I love everything about it. It fits perfectly, even with the pockets. It's going to be a great summer dress.